thoughts on what can be done about this? I mean, look, you and your colleagues right now are debating a year-end spending package, an omnibus bill. And once again, we're seeing Democrats propose increasing spending in this bill, putting as many things as possible in there. I mean, isn't that the reason we got here in the first place? I mean, the root cause, if you will, of inflation is the $1.9 trillion COVID relief spending package passed into law in March of 2021 and all of the spending packages that followed.
Right, but they don't seem to get it, and they just want to continue to spend and spend and spend, and also basically steal our children's future. And so we as Republicans are dedicated to stopping that, and as soon as we take control of Congress in January, you'll see this out-of-control spending stop from us. You won't see all these crazy trillion-dollar add-ons to our debt, and that's one of the things we need to do. Look, this is bad news for the everyday people. I mean, you got to eat every day, and so the worst news about this is what's happening with food, what's happening with energy, things that people use every day, what's going to happen with their credit card rates because the interest rates are going to go up. So it's going to hurt everyday Americans, in the pocketbook, and it's going to hurt the poor and the middle class the most, which is what this administration has been going after with this out-of-control spending.
Adam Johnson, jump in. The increase in costs, then that will show up, and the estimates will come down, and that may very well have a negative impact on the markets, even though you're right, it's a positive story for the consumer. Carlos Gimenez, things would have been a lot worse if the rail workers went on strike. You and your colleagues averted that with the new legislation to avert the strike. What are your thoughts on the rail unions right now? Are they going to, how are they going to respond to Congress having to get in the way and broker a deal when when 4 out of the total unions rejected the deal because of the sick pay?
Yeah, well, look, I didn't vote for the rail deal because I don't think I would have negotiated that rail deal. They got 24% increase for railroad workers, and they right now a senior person has 45 days off a year. I don't know how many Americans can say that. And so, but look, it's been averted. It was going to be a $2 billion a day hit on the American economy, and so that's good news for Americans. And at least it's for the next 2 years. They're going to have to live with it unless they come up with a better deal themselves, negotiating with the rail companies, which is really what it should have been. It should have been a negotiation between the rail companies and the railroad workers unions. And so that's what I hope. That's what I expect. And then we'll see what happens in 2 years. I don't expect to see this come back in 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was uncomfortable with the whole thing. I mean, I recognize that it would have been a disaster for the economy if these folks went on strike. But it just makes me uncomfortable that Congress has to get involved and jam something down the throats of the unions and not allow more bargaining despite them having been at the table for a long time. Carlos, I want to ask you what this means for future negotiations and for other unions who may be watching this and saying, well, wait a minute, the rail union just got a 24% raise. I want that. Maybe I'll hit the picket lines. What kind of contracts are expiring, and which unions are you worried about that may start popping up with their own demands?
This went off.
Well, listen, the railroad workers unions are unique in that they're covered by a really old law that says that it's a critical infrastructure and Congress can't get involved in it. We don't get involved in much of it. But what the problem that I had, that this was a negotiated deal with the Biden administration. The Biden administration has said that they're the most pro-union administration in the history, of the United States. And so, the railroad workers union got a pretty good deal with the Biden administration negotiating for them, and probably jam this down the throats of those railroad companies. And so that's the reason why I voted against it. I don't think we should be involved. That should be, there's collective bargaining. There are collective bargaining laws that you want to have equilibrium between the power of the union and the companies, and Congress should not get involved in it and let it sort itself out. This was a very unique circumstance with the railroads.
Well, Amtrak Joe, right? He's supposed to be so great with the unions, and he just went against them in this regard. Andy
No, not
Puzzer,
really. Maria.
You don't think he went against them?
He just gave $35 billion to bail out a union pension. Okay, and so that means that all of the great perks and all that wasn't funded, now you and I are going to end up paying $35 billion to bail out a union pension. So yeah, he is the most union-friendly president, that I've seen in a long, long time.
I guess what I was referring to is the fact that he wasn't hearing it as far as allowing them to go on strike, giving them their rights to go on strike and perhaps get a better deal on the sick pay that they wanted. What'd they get, 1 day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they got
Andy,
1 day.
Yeah,
they got 1 day, but they also, you got to put into context that they get, some of the senior members there get 45 days off with vacation and personal days. So yeah, and they gave up those sick days for other benefits in the past. People seem to forget about that.
And I think, Dagan, you voiced this sentiment pretty clearly throughout these negotiations, Dagan.
Right. There's no increase in their co-pays and in their premiums, I believe. Isn't that right, Congressman?
That's correct. That's right. So they got a good deal, believe me.
And Andy can speak to this, being a business operator. CEOs don't like granting sick days, because what happens at the end of, say, a contract period or a pay period, the individuals take those sick days as vacation. If they haven't used them during the year or during
week in Washington, you got the top line spending numbers for the omnibus bill. Next week, you got the government funding expiring on the 16th. And then you've got Jay Powell and his 2-day meeting and the CPI number. Great conversation, everybody. We so appreciate it. Dow Industrials right now down 63. Thank you, Andy Puzder, Thomas Phillipson, Congressman Carlos Gimenez, Dagan McDowell, Adam Johnson, Cheryl Cassoni, and have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you tonight on Wall Street. Varney & Company begins right now. Stu, take it away.
You got them all in there, Maria. Well done. And good